They're the college football program in New York that has existed for 4 seasons. They've played 35 varsity games, and somehow, they've never gotten a victory. Not even one. They've lost 63-0, 70-0, and even 76-0. And the craziest part about all of this is that program is still playing college football. They're about to start season 5 with a brand new head coach, of course a brand new schedule, and the same question looming over their heads. Who is going to be the first victim? The actual opponent who will finally lose to Hilbert College. Granted, they started their varsity football team in 2022, which is pretty unique because that was post-COVID, when most athletic departments were trying to cut spending. Hilbert College did the opposite. They added spending. That's what football always does to your athletic department. The reason why you've likely never heard of Hilbert is because almost nobody has. They have fewer than 1,000 students. They actually apparently accept almost 97% of the students who actually apply. Hilbert is quite simply trying to add enrollment. I guess they figured that football was going to help them do it. But when you have a football team, it does make people a little bit more interested in your school, but that is assuming one fact. Your team actually wins, at least a little bit. Hilbert is a Division III program, and they're the bunch of bad Division III football schools. But what we're watching with Hilbert is essentially an experiment. They launched a football team from scratch in 2022, and they're still hunting for a victory. So the real question is what actually happens when you manufacture a football team from scratch, especially in this modern era. Because their first season in 2022 went about as badly as one could expect. But when you dig deeper, you'll find out there's one major exception which throws this entire story off the rails. Hilbert College was winless in all their varsity games that season. You already know that part. Their first game was a 63-0 shutout, but the next game was actually competitive, 31-20. They actually scored at least another touchdown in their next game, and after that, they won a game. But it technically doesn't count, because they played a JV program. So that 14-7 victory, the only one that I was able to dig up in their history, that one doesn't even count. But they technically know what it felt like to win a game. The game was against SUNY Brockport's JV football program. And I actually happen to know, just entirely offhead, that Brockport football is pretty decent for Division III. They've made it to the national championship, at least at some point within the past few years. But hey, this is the JV. And Division III JV football can't be all that competitive, and Hilbert found it out. By the time that first season in 2022 was over, they had lost all 7 of their varsity games. And when you look at the point scores between them and everybody else, Hilbert got outscored 69-371. I am not making this up. And yes, this was their first season, so you could assume, give it time. They've seen a taste of victory, and they were able to put some points on the board. But after this, things did not get much better. They actually started to look worse, because they brought in a brand new head coach, Ted Egger, who had coached in college in the past. He came over from Hawking College and continued to coach them for the next 3 seasons. And in 2023, the first game of the season, they lost 65-0 as a shutout. They actually scored 2 touchdowns over the course of the next 3 games, but gave up nearly 200 points when they did it. So yeah, nothing was going according to plan at this moment. Before the season was over, they eventually played some weaker teams. So that's how they started putting more points on the board, losing a game 34-20, another one where they had like 27 points. But either way, the season, you already know how this is going to go, 0-8. By this point, they are 0-15, riding into season 3. I should probably address one of the biggest elephants in the room. Hilbert College has always struggled with enrollment, and Division III schools still have to go out there and recruit. Considering the school is essentially accepting anybody who wants to come, they just want to have bodies on the campus. It starts to feel as if, just from the outside, that the football program can't recruit all that aggressively. In other words, you kinda gotta take whichever athletes you can get. Because who really wants to go to a program that has never won a game, to a school that almost nobody really wants to go to? That is the predicament that Hilbert College is trying to dig itself out of. But in 2024, things somehow got even worse. Because remember when I told you that Hilbert College is in New York? Well, the 2023 Division III National Championship program was SUNY Cortland. As a result, that's who they ended up scheduling in their first game of the season. They went out there and then lost 76-0. But if you're new here, I want to say thank you for even making it. this far into the video. My name is Rob, and if you really want an unfiltered perspective on college football, the type that actually helps you to see it clearly, then you are in the right place. And if anything that I say actually connects with you, it is always greatly appreciated if you would please like and subscribe. But if I don't, just let me know in the comment section, because I'll try to read them all. A Division III national championship caliber program could move up to Division II if they wanted, and they'd even be able to put some points on the board against somebody in the FCS. They know how to play football, but for the next 6 or so games, they scored 2 touchdowns. Everything else was a shutout, and each team scored at least 42 points when they played against Hilbert. Now, just take a moment and imagine what it's like to actually be one of the players on this team. They are a football team in college. That means there are actual football players, like guys who do all the training, all the lifting, all the practices. Apparently, they've got a whole bunch of stuff to focus on in these film sessions, and then they go out on the field for the results to look like that. Towards the end of the season, they did get to play one other bad football team. And I mean bad, close enough to where they are. So they played Hilbert College, and the game was decently close, 36-21. Still a loss, but at least it's not anywhere near as embarrassing as what some of the other scores are. But when the season is over, Hilbert has officially gone 0-10, and now 0-25 across their lifetime. That means that the streak itself, all these losses piling up, that is the new enemy. Whoever they're about to play is no longer really the goal. They just want all the bleeding to stop, because eventually, if you keep losing like this, your program will bleed out. Nobody can be that bad for this long, and your college just let it keep on going. Because this football team is only there for a reason, to help the college along. And losing all these games isn't helping. Not for enrollment, and for that matter, not even for the players on the team. And going into their 4th season, the question is, can we get one victory? I'm pretty sure that's what everybody's focused on. They're not playing against Georgia. They're not even playing against a national championship opponent every week. It just needs to be better than one Division III football team, likely some other small college in the surrounding areas. That's all they're asking. But there's another side to this narrative. Every team that plays Hilbert is aware they are playing the team that is winless in all of college football history. The only one that exists in the entire landscape. You're going to give a legitimate game to Hilbert because of that reality. Nobody wants to be the team that lost to them. Definitely not the first one to do it. So in 2025, with 3 seasons of losses piling up, they went out there and only got shut out twice. That means Hilbert did take a step forward. The worst loss was actually to Ithaca College, which takes themselves pretty seriously in Division III. 65-3 was the score. They had some games where they were able to score twice, maybe 13, 14 points. I guess you missed an extra point. But their closest loss actually came down to their 4th game on the schedule. They played Buffalo State University, and they only lost 15-8. That 1 touchdown difference means that on any given possession, specifically at the end of the game, where apparently they threw an interception that basically sealed it, or in this case sealed their fate, Hilbert knew that they had a chance to at the very least tie it up and give themselves a chance. There were signs of life during this schedule, and remember how I mentioned that Hilbert College was actually competitive a year before? Well, they finished their season against Hilbert again. This one was not, because Hilbert put 52 points on the Hilbert Hawks. And that is how we got to 0-35. That is their record of the varsity program if we're throwing out that JV game all the way back in 2022. And going into the 2026 season, Hilbert decided not to pull the plug on the program, but to give it another go. They actually decided to switch the head coach. They promoted a new one from within the coaching staff. So John Noel will start this season as the head coach for Hilbert. He's been there to watch the losing over the last 3 seasons, so he knows what it's been like, what's been the culture in the locker room, how are the players actually responding to it, and I'm pretty sure he's had to figure out something in recruiting to convince anybody who actually wants to play football to join their team. But the goal, I'm pretty sure if the college is still playing, is not about a conference championship and definitely not about a national title, even though they might accidentally end up with a national championship caliber team on their schedule. Hilbert still only has one equation that they need to solve. How can they be better than one college football team, specifically a Division III team, but yes, a varsity one, and figure out how to do it on one Saturday? That is it. But the elephant in the room that has never left is that when you've lost 35 games in a row, for that matter, you've never won a game at any point in college football. Every single team that will play them in 2026, no matter how good or bad they might be, they know this might as well be a Super Bowl. You don't lose to the Hilbert Hawks, because that is the type of history that no program actually wants to have on their record. Hilbert can flip the script the moment they get a victory. That one win is the doorway to a whole bunch more. But if they never get it, they're going to continue to be the punching bag for every other opponent that they have. There's no point in looking through their schedule and actually saying this team or that team is the game they need to circle. Every single game will feel like a dogfight if Hilbert actually wants to win. Because no matter how much talent the other team has, they likely don't have less talent than Hilbert has on the field. And considering that the college decided to start up a football program as a part of their bright idea to bring more life to the campus, I'm pretty sure that the stakes are pretty high. Because you can't keep on going like this. If 0-35 becomes 0-45 by the end of this year, especially if you hit the 50-loss mark, at some point, when you are spending money to keep a football team running, because football always sucks more cash away from athletics than any other team actually does, you're going to have to pull the plug. So they're not just playing to win a game anymore. They are playing for their football lives at this school. And although I don't spend a whole bunch of time paying attention to D3 football, I'm going to assume that you don't do it either. I now have a plot line that I'm going to keep an eye on, because the Hilbert College Hawks are going to go out there with one goal: to win a football game. And if they actually pull this off, that historic victory is worth a second look. And yes, I'm also going to have to dig into the first team to actually lose to the Hilbert Hawks. If you actually made it all the way to the end of this video, I do have to admit that thank you doesn't do it justice anymore, because you are a real one. If you have any reaction at all to something that I said, I do invite you to sound off in the comments. I don't always get to respond to everything, but I do the absolute best that I can to read them all. If nothing else, and you really just want to see more content like this, it is always greatly appreciated if you would please like and subscribe.